Today on the Sellerboard show, we're going to talk to Adam Epstein of Boosted Commerce, actually a good friend of mine. We're going to talk about buying your Amazon FBA business. Stay tuned. All right, welcome to the Sellerboard show. Today, we have a very special guest. Adam Epstein is the VP of Mergers and Acquisitions for Boosted Commerce. Boosted Commerce is a CPG platform focused on accelerating the growth of beloved consumer brands with a particular current emphasis on Amazon third-party sellers. Adam has an impressive track record in the M&A sector, is a LA Clippers fan, and actually bought my business. Welcome to the Sellerboard show, Adam.
Hey, Christopher. Good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Good to see you as well. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and give them an introduction to Boosted Commerce if they haven't heard of you.
Absolutely. So I have a traditional finance background. I come from the investing world where I came out of school, did a little bit of investment banking, and then moved into buying and managing portfolios of assets from the debt side as well as the equity side. Got a bit of an entrepreneurial itch while I was in business school. And when I met Keith Richmond and Charlie Channer-Atzpin, our founders, they convinced me this was the right place for me joining Boosted Commerce. Boosted Commerce, as you mentioned, is a acquisition and operator of consumer brands. So we are primarily looking at Amazon at the moment, but ultimately we want to be everywhere where the consumer is, moving into DTC through Shopify, WooCommerce, et cetera. Moving on to other marketplaces, getting into international expansion, where we can talk about your business a little bit and the help, support we have provided there, as well as potentially brick and mortar, given our founder, Charlie Channer-Atzpin's background with Charming Charlie. So we are trying to be the Procter & Gamble, the Johnson & Johnson of the 21st century with an e-commerce lens. There was not many opportunities at a startup to really join and have the acquisition acumen be put to use in the inorganic growth in a way similar to what we're doing at Boosted, while still having the operation side. So after we acquire them, we run the businesses ourselves versus private equity, where you really continue with the management of the team. So super cool opportunity. The tailwinds associated with e-commerce and Amazon were there, and have only been accelerated by everything happening with COVID. And jumped on board last year, and it's been a wild ride for the last 12 months. Super exciting. We're up to 30 brands under our management and growing at a pace of 2 to 3 a month right now.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I love hearing that. I'm a big fan of Boosted Commerce as well. And I think one of the big things I noticed from the start is you and your team are very approachable. Even though Charlie, Anton, and Keith have all these accomplishments, you come from a strong M&A background. You guys actually smiled when we talked to you on the video call the first couple of times. And that was a nice change, because everything felt kind of cold up until then when we were talking to other potential acquirers. So obviously the human touch and the smiles and everything like that is a key component to a good M&A cycle when you're selling your business. But what are some of the other key differentiators you would say about Boosted Commerce in comparison to some of the other businesses out there that are buying Amazon and Shopify based businesses right now, Adam?
Yeah, you nailed the big one, Christopher, right? We're seller or entrepreneurial centric. Both Charlie and Keith, our two founders, are serial entrepreneurs themselves. They've started over 10 businesses and sold them. They know, what it's like to start a business, to kind of go through the grind of building it from zero up to whatever size. And they also know kind of how to continue to scale and the trials and tribulations associated with it. So when we join a call, we look to learn as much from the sellers as we are kind of providing our information and helping scale to the next level. And I think that is certainly a welcome difference in the market. We have a seller circle, our VIP circle for our sellers once we have bought their business, where we provide additional skills or additional information, I should say, to help them continue on to the next one. Because most serial entrepreneurs, once they sell the business, they say, okay, what's next? And as we think about that, how can we be of value? So we have programs in place where we have keynote speakers come. Our sellers are going to have kind of a think tank type opportunity to talk with other sellers. And really, as that grows, I think it's a huge differentiator for us as it continues to kind of point to the seller first, the entrepreneur first. How can we continue to build this and be successful with the business? You've done such a great job today adding on the boosted levers to boost it even further.
Absolutely. No, I definitely remember talking to Charlie and one of the calls with everybody else on the call as well, and just sharing the experiences of the entrepreneurial journey. Charlie started a long time ago in high school renting NES games, to his friends. And I remember I started on a dial-up modem selling first edition Pokemon cards back in the 90s. So we kind of had a chuckle about that and just talked about our humble beginnings. And again, just very approachable, even though they've been on all these gigantic lists on Forbes magazine and they've had all these accomplished under their belts. They're still humble and they're still entrepreneurs, and we speak the same language. And I was really excited to find out, when we're going to be a part of the Seller Circle after the fact. There's some pretty big names in the investor pool when it comes to boosted commerce. Why don't you talk about a couple of the bigger ones that people might recognize? Because after you sell your business, it's my second business I've sold. And even though I'm doing consulting right now, like I probably will be selling another business in the future. And so for us to be around some of these big names, including the founders, it's really exciting. It's another opportunity and it's another value add when you do sell your business. So why don't you drop a couple names and kind of give the listeners an idea of some of the investors that are going to be involved?
Sure. Without getting into specific names, we have the president of the LA Dodgers is somebody who's on our investor list, a former CEO of Tinder, COO of Walt Disney Company, executives at Spotify, Goldman Sachs, other family offices. So really a tremendous knowledge base to help, again, with our sellers, start the next business, think about what's going to happen next and continue on their entrepreneurial journey. There's a ton of people from the relationships we have, from the interest that's been around, the Amazon FBA space, which will, I think, rival other clubs out there, other ways for the sellers to get information, and quite frankly, probably give access to some key executives that you wouldn't be able to have elsewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a key differentiation for Boosted, and it's very exciting for us and my partners and I. So we're excited about it. And I think that others that might be selling their business will be excited about it as well. So Amazon FBA businesses, what type of Amazon FBA businesses are you guys looking to buy? Is there certain sectors that you're shying away from, or are you looking at pretty much anything that's sold through Amazon FBA at this point?
Yeah, I think we are open to most. There are some categories that are better and some that are a little bit harder. The two that really are most difficult for us to wrap our heads around are fashion and electronics. And some of that, we can get into what the criteria we're looking at, but some of that is SKU count, as we're looking for semi-concentrated SKU counts within any individual business, where our portfolio is the diversification across the businesses. And the second thing is trends, right? So when you think about fashion, when you think about electronics, those trends are moving a lot quicker versus businesses like Restoration Rockstar, which is the business we bought from Christopher, where those products aren't necessarily moving as fast, right? That the product's going to be around for a lot longer. Feminine care products, moisturizers, supplements aren't really as trendy, where every quarter you have something new coming out, or the iPhone's a great example, where a new iPhone comes out and now you need a new charger and the old chargers become a little more obsolete.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And I know with those sectors, there's a lot of returns as well. And a lot of times people are buying multiples and trying them on, or it might not be the right compatibility for some reason that's out of your control. So that makes a lot of sense. Consumables is a great space, but I know that you also look at all these other categories on Amazon FBA. So basically, outside of electronics and trends, you guys are open to a conversation, and you're looking to buy right now.
We are indeed. We are looking to grow fairly fast. Really anything from about $250,000 of profit all the way up to $8 to $10 million of EBITDA. We have across the portfolio. We're primarily focused on 5 key categories, which are beauty, food/supplements, home, pet, and kid/baby. But the other ones, we do have products across a wide range of categories, and really looking for the dynamics within any individual business rather than turning them away. So how we think about that: what is the margin profile? What is the growth? What is the differentiation? What does your review moat look like in terms of rankings and reviews? What is the competitive landscape? How many years of history do you have? And product concentration are really kind of the key ones. And there's obviously a lot underneath each of those. But those are our main criteria as we dive into understanding a business and trying to get, the sellers an answer. But what I would say is, if you're thinking about selling your business, come talk to us, even if it's not now. Start that relationship. As Christopher mentioned, we love meeting new people. We love learning a little bit more. We try to make it as easy as possible and to get you an answer fairly quickly about whether it's an interesting business for us now, and if it's not, how we can think about it in the future. And usually we'll have, some type of valuation guidance within 24 to 48 hours, and can also give you a little bit of more information about how, people looking to acquire business in the space will look at your business and how to improve upon that.
That's great. So even maybe if you're not interested today, you're going to give a value add to a potential business that wants to sell. So then maybe 6 months, a year down the line, they'll be ready to sell to Boosted Commerce. And you won't just give them the cold shoulder when they're contacting you and kind of be rude. So I know that I know how the M&A process works, but for somebody that's a novice when it comes to that, but has built a impressive business, and they are at the point now where they think they could be ready to sell, why don't you just give a brief overview of how the M&A process works, Adam?
Yeah, so typically, right, we're having people either through word of mouth or from some of our marketing efforts come to us and say, hey, here's my business, are you interested, right? So what we typically look for is we'll have a 30-minute to an hour call to understand your business. That first part will ask for monthly financials and a bit of SKU level data or ASIN level data, so we can dive in, understand trends. Probably have another call, and then we provide what's called an LOI, or letter of intent, which gives you kind of a pretty detailed outline of what we're looking, what we would buy the business for. If that gets signed, then we have somewhere between a typically 30 to 45 day process. We've done it as quickly as 10 days for people who really need it to be speedy. Again, we're seller-centric first, but we will dive into every part of your business. So understanding the operations, understanding the supply chain, understanding where you sit in Amazon, understanding how you talk to suppliers, any trademarks you have, getting into what your customers look like, and getting into as much detail as we can there, understanding your margin profiles by product, and really just getting a sense for your business, because we're going to be operating that business afterwards. So we need to know the ins and outs of the business. We try to do it in as efficient and streamlined a way as possible, because we know you're running your business at the same time, and we don't want to interrupt that. And hopefully, Christopher, you felt like we were pretty efficient in doing so. But Christopher was a great value add into our portfolio, and hopefully can give us a nice word of encouragement as to sellers who are looking to buy, that we're pretty simple to work with.
Yeah, thank you for that. Definitely. I mean, again, like, this is the second business I've sold, and my partners and I were very impressed with how Boosted Commerce had a game plan from start to finish, and how your team communicated with us. I think communication, that's huge. I remember Adam and I on a couple calls, probably 9 o'clock at night, just ironing out a few details, but they were always there, when you had a question. And you hear horror stories throughout the Amazon community, when a novice buyer is trying to buy an Amazon business with an SBA loan, and the thing just falls apart 4 or 5 months into an LOI and doesn't even get to closing. You also hear horror stories about some cold-blooded techniques that are being used in business just to try to get an upper hand at the last minute before closing. And we never experienced that. We always felt like we had a good communication back and forth. Everything was always ironed out, and it was a very professional process. So I can definitely, I can give a testimonial to Adam and the team, because the last thing you want is a potential buyer or a buyer who's playing games, and Boosted Commerce doesn't play games. They definitely take everything very seriously. So I can give a testimony for that one, Adam.
Appreciate it, Christopher. And I think, going back to differentiator, right, one thing we try to do is also introduce our sellers to our operations team, because I know businesses, I know how to acquire businesses, and that's my skill set, is doing due diligence. But we also have a massive team behind me who, once we buy the business, is going to be running it. And we want them to be involved very early on. So our sellers know who's going to be running their business, how it's going to be run. And we try to keep our sellers involved so that we can understand what best practice is and learn from them, right? We might not keep everything the same, but there's obviously been success. Otherwise, we wouldn't be buying that business. So what has been successful? and we're going to keep versus what additional levers can we pull to help scale the business even quicker. And our operations team is there kind of from day one, our first conversation once we are under LOI, so they can really understand that and really get into the weeds with the sellers, which I think is super important, to know that your baby's being taken care of once it's under the boosted portfolio.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that a potential seller should think about if they're getting ready to sell their business or thinking about selling their business, is think about the legacy of your brands. You've built this thing from nothing. It's your baby. And it's not just the closing amount on the piece of paper. That's very important. And that's probably the most important thing that you're thinking about. But you also have to think about the legacy of the brands that you built. And when you have a team behind you that's buying your business, that has all the experience and all the track record and success, that business success in the future and your brand's clout, if you will, is going to make a differentiation for you in your career. Think about your LinkedIn profile. Think about the fact that you're the original founder of those brands. It's something that we definitely thought about, and I don't think it's discussed very often, because it's not just about this magical number that everyone thinks they're going to get at closing. So that's super important, and Boosted has a lot of resources at their disposal for that reason, but they also have the team to back it up after they buy it.
For sure. And we are thinking a little bit differently when you talk about differentiators. And there are some products and brands that are Amazon brands, but we're also looking for brands that are able to extend beyond that, right? How do we think of getting to where the consumer is at the moment? So is that, moving on to Walmart, which is in a similar place that Amazon was 10 years ago. And if you said that to anybody, would you invest in Amazon 10 years ago, knowing what you know now, the answer is yes, right? So
right.
Thinking about moving to Walmart, how do we move into, Amazon International, we can talk about. How do you move on to local marketplaces like Mercado Libre? How do you kind of move into brick and mortar, which we have a playbook for based on Charming Charlie? So DTC, Shopify, WooCommerce, whatever it is, how do we extend beyond into that platform? And not every business is equivalent. Some are better than others for that. But that's part of why we love beauty. Part of why we look at food supplements is because there is that opportunity to scale and build that brand recognition that you're talking about, right? And how cool is it for a seller to say, walk into a Walmart or walk into a GNC or Vitamin Shop and be like, oh man, my products are on the shelf now. I started that business. Yes. It's a legacy, to your point, which is super cool to think about.
Absolutely, definitely. And I think at this point, there's probably going to be some sellers that are thinking, wow, I might want to reach out to Adam and talk to him about selling my business, because I want legacy. I want to sell my business. It's the right time. Now, one thing that I hear a lot is my books aren't caught up right now. I don't think I can talk to an acquisition company yet. My company's doing great. I have a higher profit than last year. This quarter is looking amazing. We're trending the right direction. So for the person that's 3 months behind, 4 months behind on their bookkeeping, what do you tell them? Do you tell them, go ahead and get that bookkeeping caught up, or let's go ahead and have this first conversation, Adam?
Yeah, definitely. We always love when financials are in order. It's helpful, but it's not necessary, right? We have a team behind us who can help put that together. We have tools such as Sellerboard, where we can throw, the Amazon Seller Central account into that tool to help us kind of get that up to speed fairly quickly. Do some back of the envelope numbers if we need to in those first 24 to 48 hours, and then really dive in, assuming there's an opportunity to work together to make sure that those numbers are correct. So having your financials in order are important, but not a must. And we can help get you there, and we have the team to do so. So if that's something that's really holding you back, come talk to us. We'll get into a decent shape to make sure that we can give you a preliminary thought on your business and how we think about it. And we can really help. We've provided P&Ls before to people that they've used as a template to go forward. So it's nice to have, but not a must-have by any means. I think it's more important, as you think about from a seller's perspective, have something like that to operate your business, right? Data is
Yes.
king in a category like this. So I would suggest getting that in order more so for yourself than I would for an acquirer, because it will, probably show you some information that you didn't know. And that's something, even if we're not going to buy a business, we help analyze, where the financials are, where we see some opportunities for improvement. Even in LOI stages, we hear a lot, oh man, I never thought about it that way. That's super cool. And can really dive in and kind of provide that additional layer of scrutiny that may be helpful, even if you hold on to your business and continue running it.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's good for everyone to hear. So it's always good to have your books cut up. That's the best way you can run your business, is having Sellerboard humming every day, looking at your dashboards, and then having your QuickBooks Online or your Xero updated at all times. We had ours up to date, and I know that was a big help in the acquisitions process when we sold our business. But what Adam said was, don't let that be a deterrent from contacting him. If you are in the range that they're talking about, go ahead and make that initial, phone call or email and get the conversation started, because then you'll know exactly where you stand, and it might not be as big of a deterrent as you might be thinking right now. So we always advocate good accounting, make sure your books are up to date, but don't let that be a deterrent from reaching out to Adam. So what is the best way for someone to reach out to you, Adam, if they're ready to go and they're like, yeah, I love that painting in the background that I'm seeing right now. The fact that he's a Clippers fan, I won't hold it against him. But I do want to talk to Adam, and I want to potentially sell my business to Boosted Commerce.
Yeah, so boostedcommerce.com is a great place to start. We've tried to make it as seller-centric as possible, so you can understand, how we think about businesses, what the process looks like. You'll see Christopher's lovely face up there giving us a beautiful testimonial as part of it as well. But there is a form there that you can fill out, provide some initial information so we can start digging in. You can also reach out to us at acquisitions@boostedcommerce.com, or my personal email is adam@boostedcommerce.com, all of which will kind of start the process. We'll have somebody reach out to you to get a better understanding of your business and really go from there and get you a quick answer into how we think about it, as soon as possible, usually 24 to 48 hours.
That's excellent. Yeah. Boosted Commerce is quick, guys. They don't play games. They don't play around. We knew exactly where we stood after the first call, and after the second call, and after the third call. And we just started working on making it work and selling our business. So obviously it was a good success for me and my partners. And we're happy that they're fans of Sellerboard. And we just definitely recommend that you guys reach out to Adam if you think it's the right time. So thank you so much, Adam. I know you're a busy guy. You got your calendar loaded. You got a lot of appointments, but thanks for spending time with us today. And I'm sure our listeners got a lot out of it. And have a spectacular week, brother.
Thanks, Christopher. Great to see you again. Thanks for having me. Always fun. And I won't hold that Clipper comment against you.
All right. We'll see what happens later on in the season. Have a great week.
Take care, Christopher.
I hope you enjoyed the show today with Adam Epstein of Boosted Commerce. If you want to get a hold of Adam, please contact him at adam@boostedcommerce.com. And as a reminder, Sellerboard is a software and mobile application with profit analytics, inventory management, advertising optimization, listing change alerts, scheduled customer messaging, request review automation, and money back made easy for your Amazon-based business. On the show today, we also talked about those repeat customers, customer acquisition, and how that's important. And we do have a new LTV feature that's in beta on Sellerboard. So please check that out. We have plans starting at only $15 a month. Sellerboard is generally the most affordably effective option for your Amazon-based business. So right now, if you go to our site, you can sign up for a free trial, 1 month without any type of credit card information input. And you can get this Sellerboard automation robot working for your Amazon-based business. Thanks again for watching Sellerboard, and we'll see you next time.